Melchizedek. Melchizedek's story is told in Genesis 14 verses 18, 19 and 20. He is the king of Salem at the time of the war between the nations around Sodom, the war that led to Lot and his family being captured along with all their possessions. After Abraham and his men defeated those who captured his nephew and family, Melchizedek was one of the kings who spoke with Abraham, including the king of Sodom. Melchizedek is a mysterious figure. He is a king yet also a priest of God Most High, aka God Almighty, aka God the Father. It is unclear how Melchizedek knew of Abraham's God, since there is no record of the two meeting before this, and because he is not named as part of the family line from Adam to Abraham, directly or indirectly. In connection to the idea of family, there is no record of who Melchizedek's mother or father was, no record of who or if he married, no record of any children born to him, no record of any siblings, cousins, uncles, aunties, or any other extended family. There is no record of where or when he was born or died. The only place he's linked to is Salem, potentially an early name for Jerusalem, located at the time of Genesis 14 in Canaan. However, there is no evidence that Melchizedek is a native Canaanite. Again, no known family connections, especially to Ham's son Canaan, who the Canaanites descended from. Hebrews 7 verse 3 confirms there are no records of Melchizedek's background. Continuing with the letter to the Hebrews, the author directly compares Melchizedek to Jesus. In the letter, the author uses Melchizedek as a typological predecessor to Christ. Typology theology looks at events and figures in the Old Testament that allude to Christ, calling him a high priest to God, and Jesus the perfect high priest to God. They also confirm that Jesus' priesthood is in the order of Melchizedek, quoting directly from Psalm 110. You are a priest forever, according to the order of Melchizedek. In Exodus 28:1, God confirms with Moses that Aaron, his sons, and the Levites would be Israel's priestly line, leaving this order of Melchizedek line a mystery. This order of Melchizedek is possibly a poetic way of explaining the typological relationship between Melchizedek and Jesus. As stated, both are high priests to God, yet both are kings too, Melchizedek for Salem and Jesus for the world, yet both are priests and kings simultaneously. Bread and wine symbolize both Jesus and Melchizedek. These items became synonymous with Jesus while he and the disciples enjoyed the Passover feast before his betrayal and arrest, known more commonly as the Last Supper or the Lord's Supper. And for Melchizedek, Genesis 14:18 records him bringing bread and wine for Abraham as refreshments after his battle. In both cases, the bread and wine symbolize victory. Abraham receives these two items after defeating his enemies, and Christians partake in an offering called communion, detailed in 1 Corinthians 11:23-26. The bread represents Jesus' beaten, broken body hanging on the cross. The wine represents his blood, spilled as the ultimate sacrifice for sins. We do this to remember and celebrate Jesus' victory over sin and death, in anticipation of his return where he will truly eliminate these forces from this world. The final connection in this typological relationship between Jesus and Melchizedek is the tithe. The tithe is giving 1/10 of something, whether that's money, food, clothing, or anything else, to a religious organization. The story of Melchizedek is the introduction of this practice, with it continuing into the Old and New Testaments and up to today. In the Bible, the Israelites were required to give 10% of every kind of thing they earned or produced throughout the year to the Levites, as recorded in Numbers 18 verses 20-21, 24 and 26. They received no land inheritance from God in Israel, so the other tribes had to provide their necessities. During the first and second temple periods, Solomon's temple and the post-exile temple, this 10% was also used on maintenance for the temple in question, as well as the Levite priests and the temple workers' supplies. Today is no different. Christians who give 10% to the church they attend help maintain the building and pay the staff. Like Abraham to Melchizedek and us to Jesus, it's a way of saying thank you to God for what he's done and will continue to do. In conclusion, Melchizedek is an extremely mysterious and unusual character in the biblical story. Although his story only consists of 3 verses, his impact and importance go far beyond that. His unexplainable origins have baffled many to the point where some have considered him not to be an ordinary man, but an angel or even pre-incarnate Jesus. Jesus possibly hints at this in John 8 verse 56. Your father Abraham rejoiced to see my day, and he saw it and was glad. From his unknown background to his direct connections, allusions, and even being pre-incarnate Jesus, shows that Melchizedek is one of the most unique and special characters in the Bible.